that ever popular, that ever growing elite level 2026 recruiting class. And we are talking about a 5-star quarterback and a 5-star offensive tackle. Well, that's a great combination. You love to have 5 stars, certainly at those two positions. But according to On3's Steve Wiltfong, the Oregon Ducks lead for both of these guys. Specifically, here's what he had to say about quarterback Jared Curtis out of the Nashville, Tennessee area.
I think he likes Oregon the most.
Wow.
So I am predicting him to land with Oregon. They already have the nation's #1 ranked recruiting class per the On3 industry. And I think as it stands right now, they are setting the tone for Jared Curtis. And Curtis has been to his top schools numerous times. With all the head coaches that came and visited him this past month and all the conversations he's having with his family and representation, I wouldn't be surprised if he came off the board sooner rather than later.
I've talked about Jared Curtis's skill set on this show before. Big, strong arm, can make every throw on the football field, fairly mobile, all the things that you would expect, certainly, from a 5-star quarterback. But this creates a little bit of an interesting situation going forward for the Oregon Ducks if they are indeed able to land Jared Curtis. The quarterback room post Dante Moore becomes very, very intriguing. Once again, this is a no crying on the yacht type of situation. When I can list off of these quarterback talents and you can plan ahead maybe this far, I tend to project that Dante Moore is going to be here for 2 seasons. So when you can project this far ahead with this type of talent, that's a great problem to have certainly right now, but it still is very intriguing, certainly, to talk about. You got Akili Smith Jr. within this class. In the class of 2026, you also have Jonas Williams, who I believe visited USC fairly recently as well. I don't think when we get to 2026, I don't think you're going to have Akili Smith Jr., Jonas Williams, and Jared Curtis all on the roster. I think it's an either-or type of situation with Jonas Williams and Jared Curtis. When I look at all 3 of those quarterbacks and I look at the film out of all of them, I think Jared Curtis is the most talented. I think Jared Curtis has the highest ceiling out of all of these quarterbacks. Jonas Williams is still a really good quarterback, and he's got a very talented skill set, certainly. So this is a great problem to have, as I said before, but if they can land one of the top most coveted quarterback prospects of this class and maybe follow up Dante Moore with Jared Curtis, they'll be sitting pretty and they'll be loving life on the yacht. I can certainly say that. I would not be surprised if Jared Curtis ends up in Eugene, that Jonas Williams flips at some point as well. Let's go to the offensive line. And boy, Oregon is really building up a championship-level offensive line. There are 2 players, number 1 and number 2, in the class of 2026 overall rankings that are offensive tackles. Jackson Cantwell is the number 1 player out of the state of Missouri. Fun fact, Oregon is in his top 6, his final 6 right now. The other one is Immanuel Iheanacho, 6'7", 325 pounds. He is an absolute monster. And you guessed it, here's Steve Wiltfong talking about the Ducks leading the way.
No change in his leaders. The same thing he said in January at the Under Armour All-America game. Oregon's out in front. Mm-hmm. Georgia's right there. Georgia, right. Penn State, Oregon, Bama, Maryland is the 5 officials, with LSU, Miami, Florida, and Texas A&M. He's going to take 6 officials, so those are 4. Now, we all know that all that stuff's fluid. So maybe 2 of those schools move into the 6 officials, and maybe one of the 5 that he has marked down for an official gets moved out. So we'll see how he continues through his process, but the Ducks lead.
All right, we talked about this offensive line haul, and we kind of teased it coming into this thing, but this year, Zaire Anderson and Douglas Utu in the 2025 class, and I I really like both of those freshmen right now. And then you got Cody Green, who's committed in the class of 2026, and potentially Immanuel Iheanacho certainly as well. Jackson Cantwell is around. I don't think, I think it's going to be a little bit of a stretch. Like, that would be complete insanity if they can land the number 1 and number 2 offensive tackles and players in this 2026 class. I don't think that's going to happen. They both play the same position. I'd probably say it's an either or certainly type of situation. But when you start to stack offensive line talent on offensive line talent at this level of play, that's what championship teams are made out of. This type of talent on the offensive line, these types of guys that can just flat out push other people around. Iheanacho right now, he has a great burst off the football. He is extremely quick and explosive as a run blocker, considering his size at 325 pounds. When it comes to his pass blocking ability, he has long arms. The 24/7 Sports scouting report said he had some of the longest arms in this class. Great length to certainly keep his distance into pass blocking situations. I know a lot of people are going to want to know, if we only can get Iheanacho or Cantwell, which one would we rather have? Boy, it's really tough to choose. So Iheanacho is about 20 pounds heavier right now than Cantwell. Cantwell is also standing at 6'8". He's right in there at 300 pounds. When I look at Jackson, he is one mean SOB, and he is very athletic, and his elite strength is certainly on full display as well. I'll put it this way. You can't go wrong with either option. You're sitting just fine, I think, with either option right now. But the thing that I love about what Oregon is doing specifically in these last 2 classes, they are building an elite level offensive line, and that right there is what is going to build you potentially a national championship type of football team.